pay attention to the moment, isn't it?
Hey guys, very happy to see you. It's amazing to come out for poetry on a beautiful day when it could be outside and construction inside the building. But here you are, fanatic poets and poetry lovers, and we appreciate the library. Zach, let's give him another hand. And we have so many wonderful poets today from every topic. And I'm just going to read a few on some of my favorite topics. And one of them is education. And we're not going to get political, but here it is. Curriculum. Children, here are our goals. Share, take turns, ask questions, be good citizens of our class. Be nice to everyone. Children, we clean up every day. When we have boo-boos, we have tie-dye band-aids. When we're sad, we have songs, dances, games, and puppets. We care for our pets and plants and are watchful on our nature walks, so nothing is harmed. We celebrate birthdays, seasons, weather, colors, animals, stories, new ideas. If we fight, we make up. Children, our classroom is our world. We play well with others. We work together peacefully. We learn together. Is there a place for us in this world of grown-ups? Well, I got a request to read my thrift store poem, so I read it. So all of you thrift store people. Thrift store. Outside the thrift store, early spring robins gather on very rich, snowy branches of a still winter tree. When I slam shut the car door and lug my clumsy bags into the always crowded store, they don't even glance at me. They couldn't care less. Thrift store, I'm leaving part of my life in your bins. Packed some memories I was told I no longer needed, dropped them off forever, like giving up my children for adoption. I search your aisles thick with shelves of abandoned treasures. Thrift store, I have walked miles in the shoes of others, stuffed your purses with my pennies, pulled your still warm sweaters over my outstretched arms, scrambled eggs on your well-used pans. All this giving and taking, letting go and selecting, discovering and forgetting. This place throbs with hope and heartbreak. Now leaving with heavy new bags, packed with old picture frames, t-shirts, scarves, and dishes. I walk into the bright afternoon light. I'm stopped by that red, very rich tree standing outside the store in the sun. Winter robins still snack on all the branches, wearing their original feathers and colors, singing their familiar songs, not a worry in the world. I watch and wonder, did one robin ever fly through the open thrift store door to check out new feathers and colors? I wonder, are they happy in their old feathers? But I don't know. I really don't know the inner lives of robins. So, so folks, if you look at the website of the library, you'll see the biographies and backgrounds of all our poets. So basically, we want to keep our time so we don't overdo any one segment. And some of our poets have books that just came out. So our first poet reading is very beloved Charlene Fix, and we're excited to have you, Charlene. Thanks. Bye, everybody. You're tangled in the board, be careful. And I would fall. Just the type. Okay, folks, hi, happy that you're here. And I just want to keep it moving, so I can keep it better. Okay, I'm gonna read from a bunch of different stuff, mostly poems about books, because we're in a library, poems about art, because we're in a library, and maybe a morning poem or two, maybe. Okay, so I'm going to start with. I'm not good at this anymore. I'm going to start with a poem from ye old Frankenstein's Flowers, which is out of print, but I do have a stash. This is called Driving the Goats to Pasture, and it goes back to, I was reading to Maddie and Sonia when they were little. Sonia was probably 2 or 3. Maddie was 5 years older, and I was reading Heidi. And when I read the sentence, Peter drove the goats to the pasture, Sonia said, did they sit in the back seat? So that's inspiring. Since you ask, perhaps the goats are sitting in the back seat, where they better behave, so Peter can maneuver them to fresh tufts and whittle while Heidi gathers wildflowers. These mountain meadows, the good, bad goats, grandfather's tender of a hayloft bed and cheese, all the intersecting tangents of love are the joys. The sorrows are grandfather's anger, the scarcity of soft rolls for the blind grandmother, and the law so weighted by letters. And then you add another joy with your question, tipping the balance and showing your sister and me cuddled with you on pillows, a meaning in the text that we alone would never see. The heart is fed by such misreadings. And this harkens back to my first adult dog, a dog as an adult, Bruno. Shakespeare, Bruno on the side. On my lap, leaves where victims plenty pass. Macbeth and Lady soil their only life and rack their love and harvest rue. While on my left, a slumbering canine mass. There's husbandry in heaven, Banquo says. Not knowing darkness is an answered prayer. The mind leaps, harder still, to requisition light. Yet here it is, a poet for the ages and a dog for now, on love seat covered by a creamy throw, while autumn sun pours through the glass. Macbeth does murder sleep, while Bruno snores, fur warming my leg. I'm going to read just one poem from Ye Not Old Showgirl. This came out in 2023, and it got really plump during the process. The Burial of Bruno Schultz. And I do want to just gloss a little bit. Bruno Schultz was a visual artist and a poet and a fiction writer. And he lived in Drahobitz in the Austro-Hungarian Empire, which was invaded by the Nazis. And he was kept alive by a Nazi who was hiring him to paint murals in his kid's bedroom. He was putting faces of all the Jews in the ghetto on those fairy tale figures. But a rival Nazi shot Schultz in the street, as they were wont to do. The Burial of Bruno Schultz. Under a street lamp impersonating the moon, but without the moon's broad face of pity, bland and blind, I slide one arm around the shoulder of my friend, the other under knees that give and bend, to lift him from the gutter's iridescent stream and leave the other dead like fish afloat in blood and gasoline. His bones drum on the taut skin of my heart. His dreams eke out flowers of black smoke that bloom and disappear. I lurch
like geriatric gears. A horn blares, must be fast. The armed and uniformed and bored are trying to blunt the horror of these executions, executing more. Here's the shovel leaning on the tree. We bury the murdered in collusion, secretly. He hid his manuscripts like footprints in the moss and leaves. I did. He leans in catatonic meditation on his state, an empty sack. Once full, we dive. We he dived. We followed him. He blew us back. The horse of childhood offers greetings, 4 feet in the air, fleeing to where the planets sag and antique stars are spare. Okay, so these are from the brand new, just born Habitat of Ghosts, with a lush painting by a childhood friend, actually, who's a painter in California on the cover. I'm going to read a library poem um, that refers at the end to Kate Chopin's The Awakening. Large print books. When Mom was 95, though still in her widow apartment, as my sister and I called it, even when Dad was still alive, and we helped them find it and move them in, I would check out large print books from the library, for eventually she was alone and had given up driving to boot. Too many books, so she wasn't pleased when I staggered in with them swaying, one atop another, 15, 20 at a time, and let them fall across the table, gleeful about the feast I had netted for her from those whispering frigate shelves. Sometimes I'd slip literary novels like The Awakening between Harlequin romances to gauge the effect. That woman just couldn't be happy, Mom said, her lips otherwise sealed against Edna Pontier's woes. I think they're fairly excessive. This is an art poem. Um, and my daughter Maddie is featured with her friend. They were probably 5 years old in this poem, and it's called The Cedar Tavern, which is kind of a joke because that was the famous bar in New York where the abstract expressionists hung out and yacked about art. Young daughter Maddie and Amy, are painting side by side at the table, a glass of water between them for the dipping of brushes as they move from hue to hue, always rinsing first. They are quiet, intent on their tender revelations. From the couch, I lift my gaze just in time to see Amy, cued by thirst or on a whim, but saying nothing, drop her brush, lift the glass, and drink the now dense purple water down. Silence in art, as in music, in poems, is part of the conversation. Maddie is Mom. I told Amy, of course, is all grown up. I told her about home, and she said, I don't remember, but I probably did forget. This is called Remember This Moment, and it feels elegiac in retrospect, as a number of poems in the book do. All the poems were written before Pat died. Remember this moment. I am sitting on the sofa, 9 p.m. Beyond the walls, a winter storm, confused. Late morning snow, then none. Late afternoon, needles of hail. I just let the dog out in shivery rain. My husband has suddenly gone up to bed. We've stairs to climb, alleged good for the mind. A year of hiking and masked outings to drug and grocery stores. At night, we map each aging other across the tundra of a queen-size bed. My dog is hiding his face in a cushion, mad at me for taking him out. I drag his fur with a torn green towel. Am reading now wildly imaginative poems. Merwin speaks of his Pulitzer, 71, aware of the honor, American shame. He donates the money, justly and generously, honorably rising and ripening well. We can all endeavor to ripen well. Nostalgia for this moment, I don't know why, idles inside this quickie poem. The clock's hands sprawl to 9:30 p.m. The dog snores into the cushion. Trees fall in forests that swallow their sound. We'll move on to a couple new poems. And the first one is called Wedding Ring, but I'm going to read only this place a lot of that. The first third, rest of it's Wedding Ring. I am about to disrupt the silence of the house since you passed away, to tell a true story my mom told me from her childhood on the West Kildonan farm. A farmhand's wife lost her wedding ring. She searched the yard but couldn't find it. Her husband said, "Niet kolza, niet luba." No ring, no love. So everyone searched, even the kids, for what is life without love. They found it in a haystack. Love resumed. Little Daniels. Daniel tells me, even though he doesn't have a lot of language yet, Daddy has little Daniels in his eyes. It's true. The lenses of our camera eyes record, reflect, like mirrors, what we see. Pat does, indeed, that day so long ago, have little Daniels in his eyes. And Daniel, tilting toward a talent based on visual acuity, averts, absorbs the wonder. Daniel, who drew his way through childhood, always with a felt-tip pen, a pad of paper in his hands, a lefty, leaning toward a life in art until he swerved to science, medicine. And I have no idea how long I've been up there. Is there time for a little bit of time? Okay, this is one poem called Mortal Itch. I should have stuck this in there. I've itched since you began to perish sluggishly, then actively, a shift I failed to grasp. Yet breasts, arms, belly knew, so signified distress. At first I thought the itch, its urge to breach the body's barrier, draw blood, resulted from the stress of care for you. But after you were gone, the itch remained. So now I think, I don't know what to think, that I must be allergic to mortality. What's yours was mine yours. Conjug- con- conjugal conjugality. So now I hope your ashes aren't compelled to scratch inside the sides unsanded of your wooden box. First you lay in cotton, linen, shoes, and socks inside a cardboard coffin. We graffitied on with Sharpies, flowers, moo cow, messages to you, all we had to give chill into flames. How shall I live without your potent absence when alive? The solitude you gave me gratis, canceling my need to be alone. How live unlighted by your shimmering, sequestered soul? What mountain did your mystery ascend? Who loitered at its peak, conversing with you more than half the time? I practiced being a widow once I understood the rhyme. between your Amish beard, your bearded part, the face that hid behind your face, shaved young in your demise. Last night, the itching stung was too intense to bear. I rolled a wheel of tape upon my nether eye to rule out parasites. Oh, worm of grief that's capable of taking bites out of my brain. I ask you not to eat of me, but let my itching oatmeal slathered self, who lives apart, sculpt this shrine inside the reliquary of my heart. My dear friend Jerry Roscoe, who aspires to be the poet laureate of Canal Winchester. Knowing Jerry, I think he'll make it. He has some books today. Great poet.
Thanks, Charlie. Farsighted. 6 people show up at the reading. That's 6 consciousnesses to be shaped by this one, a heavy responsibility. Meanwhile, half a world away for 50,000 in a soccer stadium, a young woman half my age has encased her words in scraps of melody with full orchestra, dancers, and a light show, so they are more than memorable to patrons who know them by heart, as we say. Oh well, affixing drugstore glasses behind each ear in this open reading, I see it as my turn. Algorithm. 2 citizens shot dead on the streets of Minneapolis by federal troops, memorialized in a song by Bruce Springsteen, puts me in mind of sitting in a dorm at Villanova University, listening to the campus progressive rock station when a deep cut is interrupted by a news flash. 4 students protesting or changing classes are shot dead by our National Guard on the campus of Kent State University in Ohio, an event commemorated in a song by Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. I've never been to Ohio, just as I've never been to Minneapolis, and wonder if America, beyond its purple mountains majesty, past the amber waves of grain, a country fraying at the edges, can be secured once again by rock and roll and the inalienable strength of our Midwest. The word. You'll never walk alone, our daughter Elizabeth sings to close the memorial service for her mother, my wife. Entirely appropriate, in fact, on the nose, I think, given the fact that at the end, Barbara couldn't venture forth without assistance. Still in shock, I continue to break things down and take language too literally. The Rodgers and Hammerstein song is meant to be hopeful, optimistic, spiritual. In that vein, her friend Shirley, praying over her on the night shift at hospice while I kept watch days, called to give me the word. Barbara had passed. Yet at the moment of her passing, Shirley could see her walking through the pearly gates on her own. Moth. We met at a party given by an undertaker, as all are in a sense anyway, and kissed before we spoke, sealing us off from the high-pitched fleas buzzing in our ears. It seems I will believe anything so long as it's committed to paper and memorized. We are gathered here together to celebrate, Whether it's love or a remembrance of a life, offers AI. It lasted 50 years. A long time once. Just a blip in eternity now that you've broken the cocoon and I, as yet unmetamorphosized, crawling to the center of our queen bed, dreaming and learning to coordinate the wings. Standing on ceremony. The question is where to spread my wife's ashes, not are they authentic. I was given the right to observe the reduction, but I passed on trust. By rights, her ashes should include cement and a couple screws and clips, results of medical procedures. Maybe these are somebody else's. Does that matter? It's still ashes to ashes, dust to dust. I still borrow right sounding phrases from wherever. Lake Erie is proposed, where as a child Barbara would visit her cousins and emerge a couple days from under her mother's thumb. Jared wants to carry the ashes to a location in India to make certain his mother's soul won't feel a need to return. What about at the DQ drive-through where she'd send me late for a much desired banana split? At the palace. Lana Turner was famously discovered at Schwab's Pharmacy on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood. But AI tells me that's not true. It was actually at the Top Cat malt shop. And an actress wishing to follow in her footsteps needs to realize she's in the wrong place. Return to somewhere, Indiana, marry her high school sweetheart, have a family and a full life as depicted in movies shown at the palace. She attends Saturday nights with her husband if she can find a babysitter. From the future, I can tell her the studio system has disappeared. She'd end up a waitress serving actors between auditions, men too pretty to be husbands. Schwab's is the bank I pay to manage my retirement. Pharmacies no longer have soda fountains, and malts, while they have been found to improve mood, heart health, and digestion, will make you fat. That's AI. The bargain. Jack Delaney died. They found him sitting up in a chair as if at the wheel of his mother's Bel Air 283. The summer we take Forest Street Hill above the railroad track at enough speed to go airborne so you felt free momentarily, or at least out of control. When he was made leader on the bus trip to New Haven for our draft physicals, Jack told the local press, I'm going to lead this bus to Canada. But he went to Nam and came home to start. My mother threw mine away, dealing in comic books and baseball cards, and swat long home runs at slow pitch softball. This was the bargain he struck. In our town without wealth and privilege, if you survived as cannon fodder, you had to die eventually, but you never had to grow up. Looking backwards, I was born 26 minutes after midnight on February 12th. In fact, my birth certificate reads Feb 11 with the 11 crossed out and 12 written in above. Like those ancient gravestones standing around us in New England with mistakes X'd out and corrections chiseled in. God doesn't make mistakes, we learned in Sunday school. But those formed in his image, 17th century amateur craftsman and a mid-20th century clerk in the Torrington, Connecticut Department of Public Records, I am living proof, did. God, I think, reacquainting myself with this official document. We may know him by his mistakes. Freedom. For the last half century, my real occupation, I see, has been to aid every immediate family member to achieve success in a personal sense. As far as our culture goes, success is wildly off the mark. I saw early on when I began to write. Now, with wife passed, no more assisting her life's transport, son and daughter, their spouses and children, for the moment at least okay. Wife's small dog, elderly, bequeathed, who sleeps most of the time. I wonder, what is there left for me to do? I guess write as I have every day since quitting graduate school, not needing betters, I thought, to guide me. Freedom. If you don't know where you're going, except innately, I'll add, a hitchhiker once told me, any road will take you there. Character. Wouldn't have recognized him, my brother says, except for the voice. Local legend in drinking and basketball. After 4 decades, returned to the YMCA. Not for hoops, he has 2 artificial hips and has put on weight. For the life cycle. Then living in San Diego. What do I know about San Diego? The weather's perfect. Coaching. Come back for his high school girlfriend. They'd been corresponding, but it didn't work out. I could have told them, and you know yourself, reader, these things rarely succeed. But it's like he tells his team in a final timeout when there are not enough minutes left on the clock. You keep playing. Now I'd like to introduce our next poet. A distinctive voice in Columbus poetry. Karen Scott, whose work is contained in various anthologies. How do you get an anthology? Women Speak, an anthology of women of Appalachia. That sounds good. Delirious, a poetic celebration of Prince, speaking of Minneapolis. Dead Pets Poetry Anthology. That really sounds interesting. Let's hear her interesting, far-ranging work. Very stuff. Okay.
Had a really busy weekend and I'd love to sit in that chair, but I'm wearing this silky, sorry material and I probably snipe right out. So, anyway. Okay, so we don't run over. Jump right in. I am here to say whatever pops into my mind. My filter becomes less effective as the years accumulate. Even if it manages to keep errant thoughts from escaping, my face shows everything. I'm not responsible for what my face does while you talk, is my favorite mug. I like to hold it up and drink from it when I'm on Zoom calls. If you say something not intended to be humorous and I giggle, just know it's because my mind has probably moved on to something more interesting. Dancing to music only it can hear. And much like my mind, my poems are all over the place. So we maybe get high, we maybe low, and then we'll go back and forth. This one's a little short one called The Moment After. That moment after the crash, after the impact of steel on steel, the tinkling of glass. There is silence so loud when conversation and laughter, the blaring radio, the rush of wind and sound are replaced by the release of held breath, soft sobs from the shaken, murmured reassurances, and the tick, tick, tick of a cooling engine. I've had one too many car accidents. This one is called Vessel. An African proverb teaches that a man shows what he is inside by what spills out when he is born. Lately, I have been filled with thundercloud rage, unequal to situations, overwhelming anxiety for the future, laughing less, smiles hesitant to appear on my face. I am not a vessel designed for rage. I abhor feeling the intense anger generated by other drivers' stupid maneuvers, by annoying commercials and newscasts, thrown off kilter for days by a doctor's out of character affect during a visit, easily frustrated by minor annoyances like fumbled coins and dropped utensils. I'm ill at ease with my now moping, somber countenance. Anger, as foreign as holding a grudge, pulses through me as if I might literally explode. I am a vessel designed for empathy, compassion, mercy, grace. My smile, a balm freely lavished like the nard in Mary's alabaster jar, a salve smeared on irritated feelings and jagged thoughts. I pray the next few years do not crack my innate serenity, chip away at my faith, darken and cloud my attitude. I miss my own smile. This one is called entitlement. Entitlement is, excuse me, let's get that back. Entitlement is a peculiar mental disorder. What else explains how a person commits microaggressions or major trespass, yet expects forgiveness without acknowledging their grievous wrong? You expect the oppressed to bow, apologize, tolerate your misbehavior, your lack of decorum, your outright malice. You expect them to grin and bear it as you claim your rights and trample theirs. How do you enjoy undisturbed slumber, untroubled by worries that the wronged might seek revenge or justice? Why do you expect restraint from others while you blithely wound those unfortunate enough to be near? Beware, even the pup you've raised may one day turn, teeth bared, and ferociously attack if you keep abusing it. This one's called Chasing the Dopamine. A doctor whose passion is treating the compulsions and all the factors that make recovery difficult reasoned that addiction starts with brain chemistry. Recovery is all about chasing the dopamine and redirecting the pursuit to more acceptable sources. The inhale of breath and lifting your face to the sun, staring at the rise of a supermoon on a cloud-free night, dopamine. Smiling at the sight of a sleeping babe in arms or chuckling at a child's giggle fit, dopamine. Watching the antics of squirrels in the yard, sighting a bird you rarely see, dopamine. I used to journal these hits. I called them lifesavers. Let's see. This one's called Ohio. I was born in a state shaped like a gun. Some states are shaped like blocks or cleavers or pork chops or irregular drips of pancake batter on a griddle. Now I live in a state, its name shaped like a tractor. Now that you've seen it, you can't unsee it. A state with no deficit of cornfields has an outdoor art installation of giant ears of corn. Topographically shaped like a bowl with Columbus in the center, the bottom of the bowl, top and bottom bordered with water, east and west by other states. The reason Xenia tornadoes are so destructive, they get stuck in a bowl like Beyblades in their toy arenas. Ohio, roughly shaped like a heart, the outline on my daughter's left shoulder, her first tattoo of the state where she has lived all her life. My heart lives in Yellow Springs. I will probably never leave Ohio. The flora and fauna of a place become part of you. I am too old to learn the names and songs of different species of birds west of the Mississippi. I'm free to walk out to my car in the dark of night, secure in the knowledge I will not step on an alligator or a rattlesnake. No bear, cougar, or moose to attack me. I will never step on a scorpion or a copperhead as long as I stay in my backyard. Oh, Ohio, my heart belongs here in the heart of it all. This one is called Wants and Needs. She clasped his offered elbow and they step gingerly up the curb. He opens the door and ushers her into Rusty's wharf. They sit at their table, not across from each other, but side by side. He says something low, eliciting her smile. They lean their heads together while they wait for the server and their food. I want to be that couple. I wanted us to grow old together. For over 15 years, you held my hand and guided me into womanhood, into marriage, into motherhood. None of us are the same people in our 70s that we were in our 20s and 30s. If things had been different, who knows if we would even still be together? Who would you be now? Who would I be? If you had been here all those years, what would our life have been? I wanted you here with me as we watched our daughter grow, made school choices and educational decisions for her, celebrated her high school graduation and going off to college. I wanted you here to deal with her first heartbreak, to watch her fall in love, her adult successes, achievements, jobs, her first home. I was looking forward to just us again. Passionate moments whenever the mood struck, you fishing while I make crafts of natural materials, pick blackberries in season, cooking together and entertaining friends, me watching you watching boxing, evenings spent reading together in companionable silence, a future erased many years too soon. The thing is, I don't just want someone to grow old with, I wanted to grow old with you. Let's see. Why do papers always stick together? Like ruffling through them. This one is called Nights, and it's a tribute to guys from AAA. Okay. Here it is to my knights in high vis gear who ride to my aid despite inclement weather or dark of night, who arrive with a smile or a joke to break the tension, who get right to work and send me on my way. They're there to jumpstart the car when my battery is dead because I sat in the driveway talking too long on accessory. They're there to open my door when I've locked the keys inside. They're there to inflate my spare, put it on the car after the tire falls victim to roadway debris and screws. Here's to the contract workers of AAA, the battery cars, the tow truck and flatbed drivers, nights dispatched in my service for over 25 years after the last of my personal nights succumbed. I'm going to finish up with this one so that I can leave room for announcing the next poet. This one is called The Busiest Maple Tree on the Block. The busiest maple tree on the block stands at the edge of my neighbor's yard, its dead leaves lying in mine. The trunk, at least 3 children round, a crown of marsala leaf bed, tongues. You learn how to work them. Let's see. The trunk, at least 3 children round, a crown of marsala leaf buds like a nimbus. The canopy shading the sidewalk along Maryland Avenue. A Labrador retriever once panted in its shade on a summer afternoon until the dog warden came and the dog quickly faded away before he could park the van. That same summer, a woman, probably under the influence, reclined in its shade until the paramedics arrived, asking how she came to be lying there. She said, I started walking and I ended up here. Today, blue jays splash in upper limbs. A robin tosses leaf litter at its base. A pair of cardinals chip from a nearby honeysuckle. A courting pair of squirrels spiral chase each other down the tree and back up, nails skittering on the bark. A young man plops down among the roots, knees drawn up to his chest, head and back supported by the trunk. He relaxes there until he notices me sitting in my car. He jumps to his feet and moves to stand by the intersection and fire hydrant on the other side of the neighboring yard, presumably waiting for someone. A few minutes later, the school bus screeches to a stop. A younger boy bounces down the steps, hustles over to the tree where his older brother had sat minutes ago. He fumbles with his belt as the bus moves on. I want to yell and tell him to cross the street and pretend to examine another neighbor's fence, as I watched many grown men before him do. But I don't. He and his brother turn the corner. A squirrel walks the top rail of the white fence to the maple tree, whiskers twitching, nose scrunched as if offended that the human kit had the temerity to mark his playground as territory. I am delighted. Um, I was fangirling that I get to introduce the next poet, and that is Ricky Santer. And you could read her extensive bio in the back of her many books, or but what I want to talk about is the fact that Ricky is the artist in residence at the Fran Ryan Center. And we are now in the third session of her series called What's Cool About Aging. And we have movies, we have writing sessions, we have instructions about poetry, and we have a little core writing group. And we would love anybody who has Thursday afternoons from 1 to 3 open. And all you have to do is get your little community card at the Fran Ryan Center and show up. So then you'll have a lot of fun. So let me introduce Ricky Sanders.
I just whispered in Karen's ear, thank you for the commercial. But yeah, I mean, please come. We're having so much fun. And if you've never been to the Fran Ryan Center, you must attend. It's a beautiful, beautiful facility, not too far from here. I'm going to, Karen, thank you. That was so generous of you. And Fran, I'm sorry, Fred and Mim, thank you. What a glorious collection of poets. It's an honor to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I'm going to read 6 poems. I want to start out with a poem I've not been able to send out into the ether, but it was just published in an anthology from the Wick Center in Kent called the Edith Chase Poetry Group. And every year they publish an anthology. They have a theme that they call, and my colleague Paula, who's sitting here, you have a piece in here. You'll love Paula. She's at the end of our lineup. The theme was urban nature poems. And so I want to send this poem out. I couldn't attend the reading this weekend. It's called City and Soul. Once I lived in the lap of an alley that opened into the wingspan of a parking lot. It was the syntax of the city corridor that nudged me that summer. Ivy calligraphy preened the countenance of rhyming apartment buildings. The vines of black-eyed Susans embraced stubborn chain link. And every morning, a library of noise. Parrot mic'd up on its balcony, high heels clicking alongside delivery truck groans. But most of all, it was the rivulets of grass and dandelions in the toothy cracks of concrete, reminding me of what can be invisible until it's not. I named the pigeon Bartleby, loitering for bagel bits at my downtown office window. The iridescence of its neck led me too often to daydream for sprouted wings, launching me from the sill to glide above skyscraper spikes and hard-faced glass. This city of forest that could eat you, dusk and takeout at a park bench, the spangling of fireflies, champions after the heat, the congestion, the monotony, constellations of sparrows chattering in the oaks, squirrels vogue with T-Rex paws for peanuts, cartography of lawns patched with cigarette butts, and the rocks were the rocks. Another morning at first and gay, I wait beside a leafy sycamore for the light to change. Silhouette of an electric man in a box beckons me with his flashing, and then the questioning eyes of a studious man, face full of smile, the clove of his aftershave, the green light, this love. So last Sunday was Mother's Day. And oh my goodness, I miss my mother so much. I've got to read one of the poems that I've written for her. This is from my collection called Make Me That Happy. Please know that she struggled with multiple sclerosis all of my life that I was with her, and that she loved purple. This is called Walking with My Mother. Deep in wings, I can't recall your easy sway of hips or the rhythm of your heels. Instead, there is the plumage of lavender cane, violet walker, that orchid wheelchair that names you. Your purples were your feathered campaign. The folklore of our strolling on the pusher, you the push, and the craning of our necks to meet each other's eyes. I know in your dreams your legs walked along beaches, through strange lagoons, around the ruins of your last home. Tonight I glide on air currents, searching for you in the ether until I spot a great morph heron standing through her shadows, eyes sparkling amethyst in moonlight. Well, I have a new book that just came out in Charlene. It was so much fun launching it right across the street at Gramercy this week. My collection is called Could Be. I want to do a shout out for the artist who did this cover. It's so wonderful. He does these big face paintings and he shows his work locally at the Sarah Gordley Gallery downtown. Please look for his work. His name is Craig Carlisle. He's got stuff online too. It's just wonderful. So I want to read a few poems from the new collection. Because we're in spring, I want to read this poem for my son. It's called Bluebells. As we pull into the parking lot of Three Creeks Metro Park, I'm hoping that these trails may be where my son could decide to unglove his heart. It's spring, the season of perhaps for it's been winters of stagnancy and dark thoughts. I know the way to the confluence, and we stand together along the bank where Blacklick, Big Walnut, and Alum Creeks converge their muddy, rhyming waters as they made their way to the Scioto, the Ohio, the Great Mississippi, and then on to the Gulf of Mexico. We bend our gaze. He tells me that he wants to jump right in and float away to see where the waters will take him. And I say, that's the truth that lives in tributary. We walk together some more, this time alongside Blacklick Creek, our faces in the water among schools of shadows, a flotilla of ducks, the ballet of dragonflies. We're heading to Bluebell Trail, where I want him to be in the midst of the gossamer sheen, a stunning sea of azure. More than a mile of woodland magic, thousands and thousands of bluebell-shaped flowers, their clusters glowing within the greenery. Folklore says, look for the fairies that live there. I see he may be welling up. I say it feels like a cathedral, the vast columns of tall trees reaching to the heavens. He nods. The rest of the trail back to the parking lot fills with the slow rhythm of our rhyming footsteps. It's spring. The season of perhaps. How many, well, this is also the season of high school graduation, right? How many of you have gone to your high school reunion? Okay. This is a poem for those who don't. It's called High School Reunion During Jello Mold and Cheese Platter. They were dauntless maidens passing a joint underneath the third floor bathroom stalls while cackling about a brother who had mooned the truant officer while he was having his Saturday morning coffee at Judge Diner. And they were mad lib witty for Miss Bleached Buffont Jones and Mr. Backfat Williams, whose math classes droned on as they perched on lid down American standards and reminisced snarky when over the weekend they had taken turns holding back their hair after a parade of jello shots and herbal brownies, as they traded neon feather earrings and scenarios for when they would be dazzling mavens and with bestsellers and penthouse views. And they made a pact to Farrah Fawcett's senior prom with matching Ray-Bans and show up just with each other no matter what, because they were virgin princess warriors plotting for some cafeteria carvings of dicks and tits, along with the fetal pig snout from biology class that they would slip into Amerlin's vegetable soup, even though they did adore what her weird was. And here's to the Mad Dog Electric Melon in their water bottles before they jammed their protractors into the tampon dispenser. And then so innocent of fragile melancholy, waiting for them it once was and what might have been. Tonight, the lackluster dioramas of middle age, lives deflated and seething in lazy boy recliners. Two more poems. There's so many poems, poets, I'm sorry, there's so many poets sitting in this room and people who love poetry. So this poem is for all of you. It's called Poeming Through. Pitch your tent inside a daydream. Practice walking on stilts through the tidal marsh of your misgivings and unsaids. Toss words deep into dark woods and savor getting lost when you try to follow them. Try to be a gardener or a lantern or a rocket for the landlocked and lonely. Limelight that Gordian knot the statement piece in every room of your memory, adapt rhythms of sky dancing bats, prohibit your sonnets from taking too many selfies, honor the theology of roadkill, push pin your line breaks until they surrender to the precision of a preacher's tie or until they sizzle like an ant targeted by sunbeam. Respect the grammar of the weathered banister as you ascend the funhouse. Pluck and rattle the cages of your empire. Embroider the tissue of your stanzas with pickup lines for the muse as she finishes her last dirty martini at closing time. Be ready to exile one of your gorgeous moons when your orbit gets too crowded. Admit you can never name all that could be named. Grip the tail as long as you can, but when it moans, uncle, just let go. The sad irony of this last poem was written in June of 2022 when we all witnessed the overturning of the landmark Roe versus Wade. But ironically, in April of this year, we witnessed the Voting Rights Act of 1965 gutted. This poem is called Invasive Species. Sometimes a jackass is just a jackass, a president said when he thought no one was listening. And some say that when God created the world, he dispatched an angel with a sack of fools to distribute one per town. But the harvest of folly seems plentiful these days, and it's dangerous parable staining. Tiny phones in their back pockets to showcase glowing selfies and toothy tweets, and all those Looney Tunes legislators who always have a guy or know where to get one. And they fantasize about winning more epic battles between the us and them, or want to versus should have. And beneath the peels, so many sad bananas vying for the pratfalls of others. Beneath their blindfolds, they swing hard at political pinatas with tantrums of taketh away. Too late to send them to their rooms to think about what they've done or have them vulcanized when Mars attacks. I hope you know that Tim Burton movie reference there. Okay. Their heads brim with the knuckles clenched, fervorous for playing again and again their most favorite game, capture the flag. And now the fat-fingered justices join in. So now, Jacqueline, it's my esteemed pleasure to introduce you. Jacqueline Smith won the Sharon Review Chapbook Contest in 2000 for, I love this title, My G-Rated Life. And she has been published in a variety of literary magazines and has given readings and taught classes on creativity and poetry at the Columbus Cultural Arts Center, as well as local bookstores. But most importantly, Jacqueline, I understand that you also are gifted with an extraordinary intuitive understanding of the mysteries of life. Please welcome Jacqueline Smith.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction. You'll have to excuse my voice. I'm still recovering from a respiratory infection I had over 3 weeks ago. I'm not contagious. My voice is just still coming back to what it was. Okay. Early morning. In a world full of noise that drowns silence away, I rise in early morning and wander into the fields to find myself among goldenrod, wildflowers, and crows crying joy into the cottonwoods. I'm rooted here in the quiet breath of the fields. My fingers trace petals of black-eyed seasons as I roam through swaying grass, wind tangling my hair, sun-bent stalks of sunflowers bow to the glorious sky as the morning light washes over me and dissolves what's not real. Like a clear river, I breathe in grasses, flowers, sky, and soil until I am full and exhale light back into the fields, feeling the pulse of earth, feeling the pulse of my soul. I try and live as much of my life as I can outside in nature. Summer night. The sun gives up its last light. Dusty pink clouds pass overhead as the moon rises on the summer's night. I lean into stillness, releasing crumpled memories and cries on the doorstep between this life and other lives. I walk into moonlight with open arms, knowing everything is always changing without having to understand how, knowing that my soul knows why. Embraced by moonlight, I continue to loosen and let go, feeling the moon's soft breath on my neck. Distant crickets sing their soothing song, and like an evening mist, final threads of regret dissolve. Enter. A poem is a temple. Leave your shoes at the door. Enter. Be empty as a blank page. Breathe in stillness. Feel, hear, taste the sounds. Let them flow through you. Lose your worldly self, if only a breath. Stillness. The trees teach me on this endless day how to be still as space between each breath and how to drop into silence. These ancestors know how to be this silence from deep within their cores. A river wanders not far from where I sit, flowing over jagged rocks, which distracts me. I breathe, slide back into my core, my root of ancient stillness, a serene space which these trees have known from the beginning, even when their branches waver wildly in summer's stormy winds. Late summer. Trees glisten in the evening's bronze light. Voices of crickets float on the wind and through yellow fields. Spirits of faded flowers are sailing through the last moments of daylight with the sound of their breathing. Lying lost in green grass, the last light of summer holds me, my not wanting this light to ever let go. Thought I'd read one or two from my G-rated life. This is a little shift of my year. Karen and I skateboard through the Catholic neighborhood. Bare feet grip wood, rollers vibrate, rhyme concrete as we kamikaze down Loyola Hill at midnight, in lacy summer nighties, billowing in the wind like wings. Eyes beam as moonlight presses our backs, pushing us on. No streetlights here. Whip of wind glows hair, tangled and wild. Our shadows fly ahead of us. We Banshee call for Chuck and Jimmy, the Catholic boys we were instructed never to touch. They're out roaming. Karen and I both possess the eyes of color of an autumn sky. We're blissed on the click-clack of rollers, and when the moon's light vanishes under a cloud, it turns over in our ovaries. Flesh tingles as we bump into the dark wind's arms. Once in a while, we lose our balance. The boards slip out from beneath our feet. Our spirits stray as we frenzy on, hungry. Return. First memories breathe through trees, sing through sky and flowers, roar in oceans and churn in soils. They whisper and cry through our bones, our blood, breathe our bodies in and out. Listen to the earth calling us to rekindle the fiery love, the love that connects every living being. We have forgotten these flames through the ages. Hear her sigh as she turns in her sleep. In her waking, she cries out for us to return to our own heart. For all hearts are blended into one. Hush, be still and listen. Let the earth nourish you. Windows. When I close my eyes, the moon rises in the sky of my mind. Windows that have been shut for a long time crack open. When I am still and breathe in, breathe out, they open wide. Freshness, light and cool airplay flow in and out the windows. Harsh voices, twisted lines, and stale songs rise to the surface and dissolve. Stuffy passageways rumble open with light and breath. My laughing spirit moves in and out windows, bringing clear moments as I come and go. Without a word. The morning light does not need to remember how or why it arrives, opening without a word, nor how or why it disappears when night spreads its darkness into everywhere. And darkness does not ask how or why it's here, or when it begins to leave this world. At the first glimmer of light, each gives way to the other as they come and go, breathing in, breathing out. Just had a couple more. This is from my juvenile life. The big garden out back. Father's mind is thawing like snow in spring, while his body creeps around the house. His feet so slow moving, the floorboards don't creak. Whenever I visit, he opens the door gradually to let me in, but he's leaving me bit by bit, like patches of ice under the sun. Father doesn't like sunlight shining into the living room, says it fades the upholstery on his favorite chair. hands too shaky to pull curtains shut. He's caught between the light calling and the melting snow, a softening ache between words. I cried for him to come back, but his mind's wandering in puddles of slush. I remember how he tilled soil with strong arms when I was young, planted corn, squash, and sunflowers in a big garden out back. Moving in the spring this year, unable to plant seed, he sits at the window and stares at the soil, waiting to be turned, made fertile again. His fingers can't hold a trowel. Green grass shooting up through snow. Spring rain gently killing ice. Winter passing through my father's eyes. My last one, in stillness. Sinking into a stillness, the trees, land, and bright moon have always known, opens me. I am flowering, layers of petals unfolding as I revel in warm sunlight. I float in stillness, breathing in my wholeness that has always been here. A stillness where nothing is lost or broken. So, one or two amendments. We're going to be taking a 5-minute break, and the next reader will then be Jeff Burgess. So, everyone, enjoy your 5-minute break. Thank you.
Closed it. Might help the sound and
That's wonderful. It's a grass is too far.
so quiet. Really, bro. Well, I got you sort of quiet. What you see down here? Yeah. Beautiful thing, always just like just to enjoy like big seasons. City Bell. Yeah.
Right in your house. And I'll give you a house somehow, which is be there somehow, has to get out. Yeah.
It's almost like fire, but I don't want to. Yeah, neither like, that's not so. I have to it's verified dog there. There's an article that he's out of that now. Yeah. Yes, I get it. It's good seeing
Everybody asks you. Yeah.
Yeah, They didn't really know about it. They said they did this one. My stable. No, I didn't know. Bunch of people. With drugs. It's a deck. Yeah, I just not. Oh, yeah.
You know, anyway. Yeah, check it out. And she was in trouble. I parked and I went in. So that was why we need to go. I can't see it. Myself,
I'm gonna say something worth this. Anyway, I think the poets have been doing so beautifully something. Each and every one. The variety is so fabulous, isn't it? Say yes.
Yeah.
We have time at the end to visit with some of them, see some of the books they brought with them, talk to them, talk to each other. So we have time at the very, very end. But now it's my pleasure to welcome a very peaceful, calm, soothing poet, Jack Burgess.
Thank you. I almost didn't come today because I heard she was going to introduce me and I knew she'd do something like that. Them and I are old friends. Well, not that, not that. Listen. You hear? It's the sound of the Liberty Bell. Not ringing. It's cracked, they say. Taken down to be fixed. Taken with other depleted things to Yucca Mountain to be stored. We hold these truths to be self-evident. The bell is not ringing when our votes are cast and not counted. Not ringing when the plague of war is spread with grisly armies of our borrowed brothers. It's not ringing for truth, justice, or the American way. Superman, his mission accomplished, has removed his cape and has settled in the White House. That's just the man. The bell is not ringing. And we are all separate and not equal to the task. The descendants of revolution ask, what is to be done? Fly the flag. Any flag. If it's Old Glory, fly it upside down. The bell is not ringing. And you do not have to ask for whom it is not ringing. It is not ringing for you. It is not ringing for us. Watching the news or TV or whatever, your little podcast, wherever you look at, it's hard to tell the good guys from the bad guys anymore. This is called Good Guys and Bad Guys. Good guys wore white hats in old cowboy movies, having the money to keep them clean. Bad guys wore black, so we could tell them apart. And as white hats wouldn't make any sense when they had to sneak around after dark to commit their crime. Today, west of Eden, good guys' hats are green or camel, never ragtops or turbans. If we kill all the bad guys, who will we fight? And who will we hate? Can a bad guy become a good guy by changing hats? Sometimes you might be wearing a white hat and a strong wind, or the hand of God, or the invisible hand of the market might reach down, take your white hat and exchange it for black or a turban. Then you could be shot for the bad guy. Okay, it would be easy intellectually to blame all of our problems on our current government. But not so. It all began more than 100 years ago when our greed prompted our first overseas war. This is called Guantanamo, 1898. When people ask me what I mean by stable government, I tell them money at 6%. General Leonard Wood, American military governor of Cuba. It probably doesn't matter now that Johnny died at Santiago, rough justice of the gods, pulsing his last in hot Cuban sun, part of the first reach for foreign land, a baby step for sugar, cheaper cigars, national ego, a permanent base for Yankee ships, and a future prison round back of the island away from prying cameras. Still there in the land of aging Oldsmobiles, now a torture house for truth or blood sport, whichever comes first. But it mattered to Johnny then as he watched his blood pumping out of the red gash in his gut, draining his life. Sweat, heat, pain, no way to avoid dark death. TR, in his curled Brooks Brothers cowboy hat, loomed over him, a moment of cool shade, leaning down to touch Johnny's heroic forehead, a true tear smearing his thick glasses. TR went on to bigger things, a hero. America went on to bigger things. Johnny came marching back and back from France, from Russia, from Nicaragua, Guatemala, Lebanon, Southeast Asia, twice from the land between the two ancient rivers, always reaching, dying, all the brave and frightened Johnny's blood oiling the empire that reached now from dark, sweet Pennsylvania soil, clear around the only earth we know for sure, the only life that Johnny will ever have. Your papers, please. We used to watch old movies of black shirted Nazi officials. Remember those angry spiders on their sleeves? Boarding the trains of Europe, catching those trying to escape. Your papers, please. I never thought I'd see our tax dollars at similar work. Black shirts checking papers of the peaceful people who for generations have harvested our fruit, our vegetables, cleaned our hotels, and now working as doctors, technicians who stand beside us in solemn silence as the flag goes by. Loved ones named Villario, Vasquez, and Ibarra told true stories of old Mexico, shining cities in the sun, in vast lands now called California, Texas, Arizona, and ironic, New Mexico. Before taken by Polk for slavery, a move strongly opposed by Congressman Lincoln. An ominous knock on a peaceful door. It's okay, Father. You're a citizen, but where are your papers? Crash, the door shatters. On the floor is the order, and with a smirk, we nailed one, Chief. So, what's your real name, Senor? Jesus, comes the reply. Well, this one's a little broader. This is something I wrote for my a get together with my Indianola students from way back, and it's called Revolutions Retrospective. Things don't just happen; they are made to happen. John F. Kennedy. I don't have his accent. Roll forward 100 revolutions from Sumter, blood dried, wounds still warm, existential despair be damned. Didn't people rise up from the sullen cool of James Dean, the preliminary heat of Little Rock and Brown, the empty buses and unserved lunch counters, to the grin of the man from New England? Hopes rising with wages, rocked for the first time with Charles Berry and all those brothers and sisters, followed by Haley's Comets, white folks joining in on the fun, black friends, everybody wanting to be free, free to feel, be heard, teachers of children sent to inner city colonies joined the insurgents. We have civil rights too, they all said. And by God, we will exercise them for ourselves and for all these kids you sent us, unprepared, unfed, unloved. We loved them, and we will not sit down and shut up. It feels good not to serve men. Everyone was there when the great freckled leader was shot, though no one knew what to do. Bang! Followed by the Beatles, by the inward trips to the supermarkets of dreams, of kaleidoscoping colors, California calling. We hoped for justice, and it rained down like one man getting one vote, like everyone's right to a lawyer, until it bled into dark jungles, great shootings, and John singing, "Gimme some truth." Shooting begat napalm and daisy bearing crowds. King down, Kennedy down, Kemp down. That's how it went down, brother. If they ever went down, how'd we ever get up? When men failed, though, then came the women. And they're, what about us? Not this time. We want it all. Were you there? They were so beautiful when they took off their brain burkas, dancing more elegant than a stare, dancing as neither he nor Rogers dreamed of. Bridges burned, cities burned. What did it all mean, Andrew? Great minds were invented. Tillich and Watts, Malcolm and Friedan, Dillon and Dillon, John and Yoko. None of them knew the ending. Now comes the counterattack as the Bergens don't go down easy. Can't go back. But forward, brave new worlds, Soma for all, if we're lucky. Orwellian technocracy, if we're not. The property of I got mine, you get yours. We end up with the same questions our friend Caulfield couldn't formulate from the eternal graffiti. The entrails of all this point to God, who knows? It might be up to us. I'll end with this one. Appropriate entitled On Being Old and Still Alive. Some of you can sympathize with that thought. Each day has stuff in it that I hunger and a sandwich. Walking on a flowered trail, beside a creek where beavers live, and a red roofed German style farmhouse, empty and silent. Going to the grocery, where clerks smile back at an old man faking youth, sustaining belly hungers. Old house held together by its roof, swaying some when gathering winds blow strong out of the southern mountains. Up the river valley to where he sits, sharing chocolate with the beautiful friend he married 40 or more years ago. Up to his loft, typing out surges of unrhymed, wikiing his way now, feeding the cortex, then lying down to sleep, letting the body snore, the brain remember. Good friend passed away just recently. Minister said, he's gone to a better place. I wondered about that. He lived in Upper Arlington. Maybe he was thinking the back. My pleasure to introduce Linda Fuller Smith. Linda was once a professional ballet dancer, and she now enjoys a more sedentary life. She's a Central Ohio native, and she lived for a decade in Southern Cal and nearly a year, lucky, in Florence, Italy. Linda's poems engage with both personal experience and history, and she is currently writing a book of poems related to the 1927 school bombing in Bath, Michigan. I grew up in Michigan and heard about that. Looking forward to it. That killed her grandmother's sister. The poet received an Ohio Arts Council Individual Excellence Award and has two grown daughters who, she says, amaze her. Linda.
Well, thank you so much to Ned and Fred for inviting me to come read with you all. This is fabulous. And thank you, Chad, for the introduction. I feel like my poems are now divided into two parts, the Bath poems and all the other poems, so I'll read some of each. This first one is I'll start with the Bath poems. Tomorrow is actually the 99th anniversary of the school bombing. For those of you who haven't heard me talk about this before, a townsperson who was unhappy with the taxes loaded the basement of the school with dynamite and then detonated it during the school day. My great aunt was a 20-year-old teacher in the school, and she died along with most of her students and the others. So the first time I went up to Michigan in order to do some research for this project, I was just amazed at what happened in my first stop. It's called What to See. The Welcome Center's pure Michigan map alliterates promises, family, food, and fun, wheels, water, and wilderness. But I'm seeking history. The clerk who finds the Lansing map knows nothing of the school museum at Bath. I was a teacher, she tells me, till someone shot one of my students right on school grounds. Her gaze falls. It really messed me up. But you should see the dunes. She pulls flyers from the racks. In winter, they close the parking lot so kids are safe to sled. There's a coupon for the Bug Museum. Here, take two. And check out this weekend's flower show. Outside, in uniform khaki, a groundskeeper hoses the concrete path, washing away something I should not see. One of the things I want to do with this collection is to relay some of our family stories. So My grandmother was born in 1903 and sister Hazel in 1906, so they were little girls during World War One. And one of the things that was happening at that time was the Red Cross sent out calls for everyone to knit socks and things for the soldiers. So that was when my grandmother learned how to knit, and Hazel, I'm sure, as well. So this is a story told with the voice of Hazel, my great aunt. Hazel Weatherby talks of World War One and home. Bath Teacher's Rooming House, March 1927. Even a girl of 11 could help fight trench foot and frostbite. So Mama coaxed as I wound itchy wool through my fingers and poised needles to push, wrap, hold, and slide stitches into inches into drafty socks. I yearned to knit fast as Marguerite, 3 years older, bit my lip and wrestled to master an acceptable heel. Mama paused her own work to reclaim my drop stitches, dry my tears, our work basket's drab skeins heartened by her floral handkerchiefs. Those evenings, long after Mama lit the hurricane lamp, we knit together, while Papa, in from milking, read news aloud. Local men sent to Camp Custer, Germans shelling our soldiers' lines. Mama assured us those evil bombs were an ocean away, but with Papa registered, fear marched close. I didn't understand how men could kill. It was selfish to make anything pretty then, but last fall I knit ivory yarn soft as angel wings into an afghan for Marguerite's expected child. When my niece was breech, Papa fetched Dr. Hayes to the very room where we knit those socks. Mama wrote, all night helpless worry for mother and baby, until a hard battle won, the poor doctor collapsed. Danger sits too close to joy. I think of Mama's lamp whenever I light my own. Inside the glass globe, the flame flickers, steadies, flickers once more. After the bombing, Bath is a really small rural town outside of Lansing. And after the bombing, they needed a new school. So this home comes from a photograph taken of some of the work that the townsfolk were doing. It's called Salvage, Bath Schoolyard, July 1927. Farm women know how to work the claw end of a hammer, so they gather on the field of rubble, pulling nails from still good lumber, blasted apart with the town's school. Long skirts and grief gathered into their waists. They crouch for hours over their work, aligning and scraping claws under each small metal head, muscling the hammer's grips, enduring the angry squeaks of nails curling from wood, nails that can be straightened and pounded into use again. They come here because not all of their children died. Older daughters, bodies healed, in straight shifts and bobbed hair, walk among stacks of boards retrieved from the collapsed wing, finding planks for their mother's work, while younger siblings hover nearby, where they will learn to play again. These women, hair pulled up and pinned in buns, are here because, in this unspeakable place, they have found something they can still save. So we'll leave Bath now. Now we're into my own neighborhood. This is a poem, a recent poem. It's called Interpret the Dance. Bare soles blackened with the alley's fresh tar. The tall blonde cavorts in a limp red shirt worn backwards over her lanky frame. There's nothing straight or upright in this dancer's world as she channels Martha and Isadora.
Swaying, arms undulating like fronds of kelp, she trots, spins, gallops, and veers up my sidewalk, then bows forward to rake long fingers frantically through stringy hair, desperate to remove something I cannot see. I ask if she's okay, but her momentary glance cannot focus on me. Her dance is not over. She lunges, tumbles in my yard, rolls, rise, and luxuriates, grabbing blades of grass in her fists to sprinkle over her prone body. She looks so happy that were I not old and stiff, I might be tempted to join her. Then she rises, weaves from sidewalk to street to lie down on asphalt, her choreographer compelling her to arch, pose, stretch, point fingers and toes to the heavens. Afraid for her, I dial for help. When a cruiser arrives, she disappears up the alley and between houses into her wings. When EMTs pound on my door, they discover their mistake. Her curtain call is 2 blocks down. This is another neighborhood poem, but it's from several decades ago. It's called Hearse Driver. I didn't recognize his gunshots. 4 solid booms, pause, 4 more, like meteors pummeling my backyard. Later, I watched police scouring his yard, the widow down the alley peering through her screen door. He could end my world, though I don't even know his name, only that he's middle-aged, average build, dye dark haired, and that he parks his vintage red Pontiac hearse across the alley from my 2-year-old's room. For ages, a black trash bag has filled the driver's side window. Only once did I see it peeled off, his lone silhouette overshadowed by the vehicle's absurdity. The widow was topping roses, she said, when he shot away his passenger window with an antique gun. After reloading, he aimed heavenward, perhaps to even his score with God. How many times will I hold my daughter in his range at her window, pointing to doggies, cars, or bright, pretty moons, aware that glass is fragile, God unknowably far. The writing group that I'm in with Fred and Charlie and MJ, Jacqueline, Jerry, we always remember how long we've been together because I was expecting my first daughter, who's now 30, when we started. It's been a great group for a long time. I'll end with this one. There's a beautiful tree that I pass on my drive home every day from work. This is called The Work of a Sycamore. Mortality ticks as I sit in traffic, scaling a hill. Near the top of our climb, an enormous sycamore, I suspect it's as old as I am, stretches bleached arthritic bones against a storm-dark sky. Spiky seed pods hang dry and empty on leafless limbs that surely creak in wind like knees. With each signal change, I creep closer, wishing I could skip this daily snarl of cars, work on something that might endure. Behind me, the sun slumps below the cloud deck, casting its spotlight on the sycamore, which glows with the attention, as if illuminated from within. It is my privilege to introduce our next poet. Kathleen Burgess is wise and warm and generous, both as a writer and an editor, and anyone who knows her as a person. Her poetry has
earned many accolades, including 2 Best of the Net nominations and 4 Pushcart Prize nominations. She has several books, including The Wonder Cupboard and What Burden Do These Trains Bear Away? Thank you, Captain. Oh, hello. There's some people left. Thank you, Mel and Fred, wherever he is. Oh, and all of you for coming. All of you for coming. And poets. Oh. Your offerings today have been just scrumptious. Except for Jack's. Almost made me cry all the way through. So, this is 2 poems about my dad's family and mine. It's attitudes with tongues. Washed, I said, like my dad, who also said boy for pie. And let's red up the table for mom. Let's always meant my little brother and me, because my Highland County, Ohio dad did no housework. While mom picked up dad's clothes, washed, dried, ironed, sewed, cooked, cleaned, mowed the yard, knitted, painted the house, shampooed dad's hair, presided over meetings, sang alto in choir, and went to choir practice on Wednesdays. Maybe it was the Appalachian speech of Virginia Farms, where an orphan train carried dad's dad south from New York City when his parents died in a flu or early coronavirus epidemic. Grandma told me that she and Grandpa never told others or went back to visit Virginia Fosters, who used them as a servant when he was age 7. Fosters may have thought he was dead when he disappeared. Grandma, as she cored, peeled, sliced apples, told me he worked and ran away from that difficult life. He walked over mountains and rural hills to Ohio at 14 years old and crossed rivers, forests, meadows, farmland, where he worked hard with his large hands, resolute with a quick temper. Unlike Grandma, I never exclaimed, fiddle-dee-dee, or oh, show, or I was going down to the root cellar to bring up some winter apples. I learned our tongues have histories and geographies north to south and east to west. My tongue favored Grandma's pies, cherry and apple, and potato bread, risen high, clover leaf rolls, fried chicken, stewed apples. She served us all around a great oak pedestal table, walking with a platter or bowl in hand. She didn't eat until everyone was served, and some of them went back for seconds before she'd even started. Mom and brother Freddie took the drumsticks, I a thigh, Grandma ate neck and gizzard. Freddie learned by listening. He chameleoned his speech to mimic Parma, Ohio cousins and their friends, who made fun of my Greenfield, population 5,000. I made defiance of my tongue by poking it out as far as I could, or curled it like a straw to suck up pop. Mom taught me to blow raspberries, a Bronx cheer with my tongue. She showed me how to fight, double up my fists, keep thumbs low and outside fingers to keep them safe while punching, and keep my tongue inside clenched teeth. This is on Armistice Day. Walking home, I see black silhouettes wing into bare trees, fold and stay, as if leaves or small fruit could reverse their falling. Through limbs, moon's gaunt face, its deep-set eyes, are mom's. Birds fountain and cluster moonward, like children she would gather from playground to come into class from play. Here, whether above or below the earth gathered multitudes, when she lights the sky, do her eyes turn to my brother in the east? Does she visit his window too? When clouds and brilliant strikes blot her light, and thunder shakes my body, I remember summer storms. We counted seconds divided by 5 to find a strike's distance. Thunder was the voice given to forks of lightning, rending air. If we heard it, we were safe. Night slipped in, famished, as she cooked. The radio cried death. Iron curtain, bamboo curtain, Korea. Our World War II soldier, Dad, was late again. I believed he must be injured or captured, he was so late. But Mom made supper from the pantry and icebox. We ate our fill, then washed, dried each plate, and put them away. Evening deepens, cloudless, midnight blue. Sun slides below bird-clacking hills. Thin cloud curtains, unseen till now, gauze the sky pink, then purple. Moon is a creamy glow. Over my neck, a scarf warms my face. From the cold that penetrates earth, the moon-wandered sky and made. The body under stone I can never again touch. Today I visit her grave as I do each year. Yet she is still inside me, grounding me, as is the mercy we call memory. Now 2 poems about people from Iran who lived in America. For Musa Saeed Shafqat, 1935 to 2015. On Friday, as I walked home from the print shop, a man and I crossed DuPont Circle at the same time. Energetic, he said his name was Saeed. Friends called him Musa. We agreed on politics in Nixon's bleak Watergate era. He cautioned me not to believe everything I heard on the news or what I read in the district's newspapers. I invited him in for tea. We talked till someone crashed a stone through my barred first floor window across from the zoo. Musa said Iran's Savak probably aimed that stone at him. I learned he'd served in Prime Minister Mossadegh's 51 government. They created Social Security for people, nationalized Persian oil, and forced the Shah from Iran. In 53, MI6 and CIA led a coup d'etat to regain control of Iran's oil. The Shah returned, jailed Mossadegh, then put him under house arrest for 13 years until he died. Musa fled to DC, became a chef, and led Iranian Student Association in the US. He hosted summer picnics, Persian New Year's galas, in hotels the first day of spring. A friendly socialist, Musa swayed scions of Iran's elites. None of them suspected him of subversion or treacheries. Once, when I was eating at his apartment, he said he grew tired of the CIA breaking up his phone calls. Musa went into the hallway, found two men wiretapping his phone. He's told them he didn't mind them listening in, but he did oppose them frizzling his electricity and ruining calls with friends. Now, when I learn we're maiming and killing Iranians and demolishing their homes, I remember Musa's words, be alert, always read between the lines. This is Cruelty in the Car Wash for Rafi Ola Shuet. Behind closed blinds and from outdoors unseen, I sit in my room working at a computer screen. The blinds shine with intense light. Typed words describe the unearned plight of immigrants who've lived in America for ages or even days. Rafi's defending those who work for wages. They fear DHS and ICE, worry about being disappeared by those who knock Rafi down, the boss, aged 80 years. Knock him down twice. This man, Iranian by birth, an elderly heart patient, American citizen and car wash owner, has worked hard to thrive here. He's trying to prevent attacks on his employees, fears masked agents will arrest them. All are green card holders. The president orders ICE must be mean, very mean. Agents may think Rafi looks like a foreigner. They body slam him twice, break his ribs. They dislocate an elbow, sit on him, traumatize his brain, hold him without Medicare for hours, make arrests in a free-for-all of terror. ICE pursues immigrants in the president's stead, those he's hired or freed, and the spineless party he leads. This is the cento, which is which is a poem with lines of other poems. This is from a book edited by Slavery Heirs. Cento. This is how I see us. I say, love me and all the damage. Open your heart for a course deep and true. The silky veil of memory is a woman with a past. Did she too have to work backwards? Yes, I'm aware there are those who mock my form. All day I try to say nothing but thank you. I am profoundly grateful. Transform me into a field blazing with green fire as you leave the forest near the stream's bank, a ghost path, Sakravia, where each star is ancestor, massaging its strings for the fire of its familiar voice. For consolation, we turn to great music, the vast panorama, not looking for a spark in the world on fire, piercing the air into witness. Shafts of light whisked, flush with the sound of promise. This is how we love each other. This is for Jack Burgess, my husband. His dad asked Jack why he was mowing tiny trees. The cottonwoods began to flourish as soon as Jack stopped cutting them down to grassland along the backyard border. His father, Claude, brought us mimosa and 2 tulip poplars. Side yards held those poplars, honey locust, black willows, Elisa's pine, black maples, pin oak, and bamboo. In our front yard were yews and a mimosa. Jack sheared the trees near sundown because he didn't see them. I fretted when he was 85, pushing the mower. But now that he's 112, I hire help to mow grass and trees mature in an unpruned way. Bamboo runs wild green. My perennials flower each spring and every summer. At first, our yard was sunny and bare. Decades later, it's grassy, shaded, cooler in summer heat. Rainy day puddles collect under tall, brittle cottonwoods. Cloudy winter days bring splooshes and hail bounces, or clusters of snow whirl and collide. If only Claude were here to see everything flourish. Rinsing dishes for the dishwasher, I raise the top of the blind to keep cool and keep from squinching my eyes in the sun. Jack opens the blinds to sunlight to let them spread light and warm our rooms. And just one. This is Balloonathon, and it's in the shape of a what? Balloons. Okay, Balloonathon. Bloom of red, bud blown effort enlarges the small curiosity surface that grows taut, shiny enough for light to reflect off its face. Inside pressure grows to measured promise delight. The bundle can hover over one day or week, more if air is tied in tight. Breath blown out rises with heat, or lighter than air gas, say helium. If the balloon is round, it becomes rotund. If the balloon is taller and rounder on top, it's adored as it tapers towards stem's foot end. Be careful as it distends. The painted face clown with a bulbous nose cradles long, slim balloons and twists them into clever shapes of cartoon snakes, poodle, flower, dinosaur, giraffe. When one pops or deflates, what persists is thin, rubbery. Crowds grow older, but laugh. Memories falter as the throng shrinks into deep, wrinkled skin. Well, thank you so much. And now I would like to bring Rose Smith up to the stage with an introduction. How to consolidate a career of almost 40 years. Rose Smith has authored 4 chapbooks, and her collection, Unearthing Ida, won the 2018 Lyrebird Prize from Glasslyre Press. She was a senior editor with Pudding Magazine, and she served several years as a state competition judge and often as coach to the student champion for the Ohio Arts Council's Poetry Out Loud program. She is an IT requirements analyst by day. She completed a fellowship with Kaveh Kama Foundation in 2015. Rose Smith.
I'm trying to figure out, okay, what's the time? It seems to be working out to 12 minutes. 10, clear. 12 minutes, 10. 12 minutes, 10, 15. You guys are not reading 15 minutes, just so you know. Okay. Dwelling on my mind's been back in the 60s, remembering times when my sister and I were younger. Um, this poem is called Backpedal. Backpedal was simple. It's actually an acrostic of a bike in front of a rose bush. It was a 1960s style with the big silver fenders. Backpedal was simple. All you needed were two speeds: left foot, right foot, uphill, down. And city streets weren't drive-by Dodge speed throughs, beer bottles broken on curbs at 3 a.m. Slick was how Vaseline made your thighs feel on church pews in summer. And Fender was not yet a name for some rock star's glistening chord holler. You chewed jujubes and touched that boy's hand at the movies, unintentional, but it made you forward and mysterious. Secrets eased up through suntan skin, promising tomorrows you supposed Big Sis would tell you about later. You hung out at playgrounds, almost high school legs dangling from rubber butt swings, new hips pinched by chains. The rest of you too off balance to lean into the lift like 8-year-olds, aided by waiting arms. Years later, you discovered the waiting and the arms were yours. So you pushed through the sweat, salty lipped, slow climb out of simple into bifocal fairy tale duties, met at bedtimes after hot car days. Now, chapters worn to cotton edge and olive page books unearth truths for you at yard sales, Salvation Army flea markets, consignment shops, and antique auctions. The shadow of that one dear thing you gave away calls out in an austere moment. Stop, it says. Wait, touch me. Here, smell the roses. And I needed to read that in order to read this. This is called Skinny Chips Cost More. Should really be Skinny Chips Cost More now. Even then, it was store brand, generic, or brand name if purchased at Carl Brown's IGA, not just local, but locally owned by a visionary entrepreneur of color who knew what to offer for his own culture, people, class. Friday night was chiller night, and we three wide-eyed and clustered on the front room floor sat with the pocked steel souffle pan that one used for Grandpa's pound cakes, but used on Fridays only for popcorn, sometimes potato chips. These simple things we remember, we pull from dormant gray matter landscapes each time we reach today for guilty snack pleasures. Where once we treasured that accidental chip, the one that got folded in the process, in store brand bags, the greasy one, the one we took turns claiming so each of us also got to feel that extra crunch, those extra calories caught in the folds. Today, in this Miss Vicky's jalapeno bag, I grasp each folded chip, gently pull apart the sides, each half now becoming a skinny chip. No accidental grease here, intended for healthier snack seekers. We unfold now slowly to stretch the bag, elongate the minutes spent on the no guilt legacy of one Canadian woman's dream. A meditation awaiting journey. Breaking the call of midnight, morning chatter of birds in the woods next door, soft cacophony, beautiful as the smell of first raindrops on soil. In this music is where one longs to dwell. No drone of traffic on Main Street, no loud bang of metal something dropped on maintenance garage floors. No eager news anchors prattling ready to scoop the next Trumpism. It's coarse affronts. I rise to find you in the peace, find only the waiting drain of to-do lists, deadlines, incessant nudges forward. Bags and boxes niggle me to downsize, purge, prepare for inevitable tomorrow when I won't be here to tell my girls why the dried stems in a rust-colored planter are treasure. The yellowing piles of poems, a constant scrape at settled layers to unveil truths long buried. Why the coral beads in the jewelry drawer, a project for nimble hands, have waited years for stillness enough to see the finished weave. Better now to divest, discard, eliminate weeks of tongues, head shakes, and sighs. Better now to wonder, wordless, at what the woman must have been thinking to give so much space to the keeping of things. Um, this one's called Peeling the Grape. A couple of you have heard. Peeling the Grape. I order pickup, just things needed, but fulfill a strong desire for grapes in every color. Their aged juice, fine wine we could serve at any table, muddled gold in sleek stemmed glass. If I had grandfather's talents for good uses that together create a new bouquet. Easy dream this is to welcome ferment, pull pleasing piquancy from the must. Acrimony coats the air this year. Its smoky vestige, chemical, invading the vine, saturating branch, leaf, fruit. Insidious, we would think, had we only seen its true nature coiling, thief within, devaluing the promise given at creation. Red, white, purple, black, or glossy green, all the grapes have bitter skins, each one a sharp reprisal for naive expectations. How easily the skin pulls away, reveals a new grape beneath, a fibrous heart glistening around a noxious sea. We watch the world implode. One day, one swirl, one mouthful, one more geyser of vitriol at a time. Um, so, I debated, I was going back and forth, back and forth. They're not really reading 15-minute drugs. They may read 10. We're not reading 15 minutes. So, go ahead and read this one. No, I'll read. I have to do this, okay? Just have to. This poem was written after Trump won this presidency. The aftermath of purchase. Say again how much you wish you'd known the foundations of this house leaked in inconvenient places, held secrets no one cataloged in deeds or regulations. Say again you knew the cost but did not realize you'd be left to pay. For every truth withheld, every unexpected brick dug up from front yardscape, where fountain, porch, or bed edge once restrained unpredicted wildness. Say again you signed because it was time for change. The dog confined to his fenced-in townhouse patio, you confined to your sandwiched space between immigrant and overly quiet. Say you've no regrets, have a place for this remorse, this new level of expectation, this end of the fairy tale of ownership, rebirth, and freedom. Make the noise you thought you could, where no one would complain. I'm gonna read just two more. One is relatively short. The other one is an older poem, but a bit longer. Summit. Before the flight back from Denver, Shonda drove my Midwestern ignorance to see buffalo grazing state-owned land, their broad backs bent low to the work of instinct, all their world, a few fenced acres where all of Colorado must have once been home. And farther on, she pointed out a long gray edge of cloud obscured mountain she called the Continental Divide. I focused novice eyes on the long, wide brim, the sloped expanse between pasture at my feet and distant ridge so large before me I could fall into it and float away into the open arms of earth, not strangled. Ohio hills are dwarfed by what lies there, far beyond their reach, but I am Ohio hills, made small by this majesty that Westerners likely take for granted. There, at the pinnacle of what I might have been, there, the pinnacle of what I might have been stretches out before me. To be that unending ridge, unconquered and untamed, holding my place through wind and rain and quake, foundation never breaking, a line between triumph and regret, constantly extended, hands ever reaching toward cloud. Blue sweater. Old woman, blue sweater. When you tell tales, I see fingers of wind combing your hair, stroking your face, leaving you enamored, not by place or destination, but by going, by movement, newness, discovery herself. I feel the rush of cold opposing breezes. They fastened you to where you stood, impaled on life's rigid strut, propelled, helpless, into your future space. We are all that way, hanging on for dear life on a roller coaster ride. Old woman, blue sweater, I see you in the aftermath, the coming dark and craze. You remember protest marches, pickets, even gas masks through the haze. But though you knew them yesterday, you ask me now, and I rehearse for you the names of streets you lived on and those of common kitchenware, fork, knife, serving spoon, the names and ages of your sisters and of your children's children's children. These are such Jonah moments spent straining to recall the reasons you did not accomplish all the should have done's. Should have gone to OS, thinking you, money or no money. Should have left that job at the aircraft plant when you heard God calling. Should have left that mean ass man before he beat you down. Old woman, blue sweater, I see you stuck there in that life machine, curled and helpless in your rest home chair while I search for what to give you, but there is no price enough to buy back able, warmer, hardier days before your shell withered to paper and circumstance drained away the substance of such fine you. Old woman, blue, blue sweater, I see you in your heyday. You had that fine girl walk, that somebody sway. So breathe, you, please, love you, please remember you. Truly, you were such fine you. Finally coming up MJ Lakewood. No matter when you see MJ, she has a smile on her face. And she is a personal growth and creativity workshop leader. And she told me not to mention soul collage. She said, that's soul collage. She said, just say, venture over into collage. So she ventures over into collage.
Thank you, Rose. Thank you, Tim and Fred, for including me in this wonderful afternoon. When I was deciding what to read, the first couple of poems I read had birds in them. So I thought, okay, I'm going to do it like Jeopardy and have categories. So the first category is birds. Rocking you after midnight for Ian. You raise your eyebrows in sleep, conversing with the baby souls still waiting for bodies. Only you know how far you waited. Only you know how far you've come to be here, how long you waited for that first angry cry while still half inside me. Sorry to interrupt your dreams. What do you tell those drifting souls of the world you've known these 2 weeks? Do you say we love each other? Sometimes well, sometimes poorly. We hurt each other. We try to make things right. All of us in this house sleep too little, yell too much. Tell those baby souls it is worth coming, but none of them will end up the straight tree, mapped into their unsown seeds. Tell them outside our kitchen window, a robin weaves a complicated swirl from skimpy gatherings, beaks of mulch, string, mouthfuls of twigs, a lucky find of bright cord. Tell them the world is such a nest. This poem occurred like soon after we moved into our current home. I love that feeling of like when you're the first year you're in a home and you are seeing what's in the yard and what birds come. Petition. Hummingbirds. I was a rookie this year. Can't take credit for planting the bee balm or hanging the feeder on the branch you knew from the Ritters. I've been eager yet erratic. Late to buy another feeder, slow to refill it with sticky red nectar. Bee balm was an easy meal, July to September. Yet when its crimson corollas waned, my yard offered little sweetness. So many neighbors gave you reason to tilt your beak into their blooms. I didn't earn you. At least I knew better than to cook the sugar mix myself, like the woman at Lowe's suggested. You would have gotten even less that way. What I'm asking is, try me again next year. Come 3, 4, 5 at once, as you did at my aunt's on the Oglays. I will pledge a full feeder. Come green, come purple, come sit. Each morning I'll keep watch at the kitchen window, hoping you'll bless my day with hovering magic. Now we're going to go into the memories and current events category. And Papa Lambert is in his poem. And I realize I don't think she's heard it, so it's all good. It's okay. So before the move, I mentioned there was much sorting, as I'm sure you had experience with. Sorting the closet shelf. Ah, the princess phone. I trace its pinky taupe curves. AT&T chose Anne Margaret to show us how to cuddle up with it. Something for the Paula box, where odd finds that might inspire my writer-artist friend go. Yes, Paula could create something amazing with this, like calling the divine feminine on my princess phone. I imagine their conversations, a wise, deepening series. I see Paula on stage with the phone as a prop. Then Psyche chides me. MJ, this is your excitement, your vision. Easy to pass by a creative challenge till you're caught. Keep the princess phone. Deliver, woman. So, did you see the report this week about all the UFO pictures that were released from like clear back to the 40s? My father would have been so excited to hear about that because he got UFO magazines and there was one called The Unexplained. And I feel he's vindicated now. They're really out there. And so that's in his poem. And he was the manager of a supermarket before supermarkets were 24 hours. So he would go in at night and check the refrigeration. And he had a special privilege of borrowing magazines and then like slipping them back in before the magazine vendor would come and pick them up and bring the next ones. And he let me in on that. Borrowed copies. Supermarket manager, my father strolled cool linoleum after hours to make sure freezers were still freezing. Checked the change for double struck Lincolns. Once a month, he pulled Tiger Beat from the racks, bringing it home between Popular Mechanics and something about UFOs, slipping it to me out of sight of younger sisters. I hadn't asked for this, like I hadn't asked for a bra when my mother called me to her bedroom, slipped a narrow box from her closet shelf, stretchy blue-bowed contraption inside. This was how we did things, assumptions and borrowed copies, turning the pages carefully. Stealth, our natural order. I earned a place as one who could touch without a trace. In my hot pink room, my tulip frost fingertips stroked the pictures slyly, as if David Cassidy sprawled here too. From my pale blue radio, his make-believe family of make-believe musicians sang, "You really don't have to worry. I only want to make you happy," mouthing the sounds of other singers. I returned the issue to my father before the new one arrived, so he could stroll that semi-dark aisle, impossibly clear faces glowing from coated covers. Riffling the unsold copies, he mixed mine in, purloined and pristine. Oh, you know that they stopped minting pennies last November. That's the current event part of this, which is, and this, but this poem is about another historical penny event. Looking at my father's coins. The year I was born, 252.5 million pennies rolled out of machines in Philadelphia, and 801 million sparkled down chutes in Denver, down from a billion the previous year. These were the last wheat pennies, graceful grainy stems giving way to the bulky Lincoln Memorial. Two are saved in these blue albums, pressed tight into round holes by someone who appreciated even the coin of least worth. I imagine Dad searching his change for some elusive year or oddity, reveling in anything double struck or mismarked, storing his treasure in this ammunition box, dull green metal, waterproof, with a hollow ring even when full, a clumsy, puzzling clasp. What ammunition is this, except against time? And then just this statement, each year passed and was counted. Oh, two more poems. This is the poets and poetry category. And some years ago, Sonia Sanchez came to Columbus for a workshop and a reading. She was hosted by Martin Luther King Center. This is my memory of that. Sonia Sanchez asked us to eat a brown rice cracker and fully experience it. She said no one will make it easy for us, so I've decided to start from here, from this pale brown round muse of rice, from my dry earth unease, from the seaweed stroking the host, from faint soy and salt, my memories of sea, from Sonia Sanchez draped in layers, shaking the plains chill, dark honey woman, hair hidden under plaid, Dolan crackers she toted from Philly to Columbus, telling us to stay connected, taste each bit, find what has been germinating, savor the slow melting, let our tongues tell us the words. And some of you are familiar with Sandy Fiend's You've Been Poemed collection that's going to be coming out, and in it the challenge was to write a poem and leave it someplace or leave it for a particular person. Just and I love a creative challenge. So my granddaughter was born last August, so I left this poem in her bassinet. And but this includes all of you. That's why it's in the poets and poetry category. And the quote I'm going to read at the beginning comes from Celeste Ng in the book Our Million Hearts. But the definition is also in the dictionary. But I wanted to let you know that's where I found it. Pile up. If you trace back far enough, the word poet comes from to pile up. The story I weave with my grandson Caden builds to a pile up. To Caden at nearly 4, a pile up happens when asteroids strike a circus and torch a nearby woods. The people and animals escape, except for a trembling young rhino. Zoe at 2 weeks can't pile up anything, so I'll heap blessings for her here. Curiosity with caution as needed, great health and great hair, a feeling of being protected, knowing when to let something or someone go. The same things I would wish for you. Poets and artists, let's keep piling up. Layer words, layer paint. Weavers make cloth to swaddle our troubled hearts. Rain down compassion, all of us. So many are parched. This world needs us. Pile up, pile up. I am happy to introduce our last poet, Paula Lambert. She is a very engaged and generous member of the poetry community. She has 4 full-length poetry collections, and her 5th chapbook is coming out, and I know she has books with her. Yes, yes. She is also a visual artist, a small press publisher, and a literary translator. So, I give you Paula Lambert.
I'm going to allow myself to correct that to 5 full-length books and 6 chapbooks. And I say I owe so much of that to this incredible poetry community that we have that was supportive and so inspiring and keeps us all turning out new poems. I'm going to read today from this new book, Terms of Venery Revised, and I'll talk about the title in a minute. I'm not sure that I've done, this came out in November, I think, of 2025, so it still feels brand new. And I'm not sure I've done it justice since it came out. But sometimes by the time a book comes out, we're so far into the next collection that we're excited about reading the new work and trying it out on an audience. So I have actually just completed another manuscript. but I want to honor the publisher who has supported this. But what's been difficult is that the poems, I think, have been far more personal than a lot of my work has been, and they're also quite dark. And I don't like it when poets get on the mic and apologize for something being sad or dark or whatever, because that's what we do is we face the dark. But collectively, it was hard to always kind of hard to choose what to read that wouldn't be so dark. But that's the point of this collection in the first place, is to face that. We have to face what we most want to turn away from. And turning away, I've been weepy all weekend. It's been an incredible poetry weekend. Because I came here directly from the Sun and Moon Poetry Festival in Yellow Springs. I've been weepy all weekend. It's been to our great detriment that we have turned away from so much that we have refused to face or been afraid to face. And we have to take a look at that. And that has been more and more what my work has turned to in this book, and even more so actually in that new manuscript. So I'm going to read from this unapologetically. Terms of Venery revised. And again, I'll come back to the title. The first poem I'm going to read, the first poem in the book, is actually an old poem. And it was from my first ever chapbook, which was a Pudding House chapbook. And it was published years before I ever even moved to Columbus. I knew Pudding House as a press of national repute. And friends cajoled me into putting together a chapbook and submitting it. And Pudding House was the first place I sent it. And she took it right away. And that's when I first thought, oh, maybe I have to pay more attention to this poetry thing. So I mean it to be a tribute to Jennifer and to the history of poetry in Columbus, and maybe even a bit of a tribute to my own life history. This is called The Tornado. That chapbook was called The Guilt They Gathered. And Jennifer picked out the loveliest tornado image on the front. This was brand new to publishing and wasn't sure what to expect. And I was so pleased with the image she took for the cover. This is the tornado. When he woke, he told you he'd heard someone asking, "Do you think anyone could have survived this?" He cried out for help. That's when he knew he was alive, when he heard his own voice. Help. The people asked, "Where are you?" And he called back, "I don't know." They hollered back and forth, like children playing Marco Polo, the only water around him, the rain still falling, the thick, wet mud he was lying in. Broken in so many places, he wanted, of all things, his back scratched. He pushed the blankets off, lifted his gown up, and you saw the compression bandage across his belly, penis below it, catheter attached, his scrotum the size and color of an eggplant. Rolling carefully onto one side so your hand could reach his sweaty, itchy skin, he moaned when you scratched. Don't stop. And you didn't, not till he was ready, slowly rolling himself back into place, lowering the gown back over the eggplant, and raising the blankets to his chest, hiding it all over again. It didn't help in your mind that it happened after you'd left, that you weren't there to protect him or die next to him. But you took comfort that the news on TV and in the paper, keeping up with his progress for days, never mentioned he even had a wife. If no one knew, no one could ask why you weren't there. 6 months earlier, you tried to die your own way, tried to kill the chaos of guilt and debris twisting through your brain, but it didn't work. And you were forced to say out loud the words you thought would send you to hell. I want a divorce. Turns out not saying it was the real hell. Turns out a little R&R on the psych ward wound up changing everything. Everything's fine now, see? Dorothy's house blew away, but it didn't blow up. Her house killed a wicked witch, but yours scarred a good man. She found color and gold bricks and wisdom. You found surgeons and insurance men, a wheelchair, and a way to go through with the divorce. Dorothy got to go home again. With nothing left, there was nothing to squabble over. No house, no kids, no need for the lawyers. Think of it. The hand of God made the divorce easy and cheap. Turns out there never was a need for forgiveness. I pulled that poem out and wanted to use it to open this collection is because that tornado happened in 1999 in Mississippi. We were living in Mississippi at the time. Um, um, and it happened outside of tornado season. And this tornado came down and blew away just our home. It did take out part of a bean field, and up the road there was a church. It blew a couple of shingles off the roof, but it felt like, you know, the hand of God came down to smite our very being, you know, as a couple and as a family. But it was the first time we started understanding in the most real way what climate change was going to be, right? Because this was change in the weather patterns. And now, of course, we have tornadoes where we've never seen them before. And we have things like sinkholes, which I'll get to, and all kinds of things. And it's been very much to our detriment that we have turned away from and denied the existence of what climate change has been. It has brought us to full-on climate catastrophe. So the book that jumps ahead, this is the poem that opens the next section. It's called Vanitas. Vanitas. All the rest of the poems there are some very long poems in here, but all the rest of the ones I'm going to read are quite short. Vanitas. I sit by the open window, listening to frogs and crickets, rotting pears, plummeting through branches and thudding the ground. Yesterday, the body of a starling on the back step. The dark world offers itself, cries out, come daylight, we mow the pears. We pretend not to see, not to hear. When I started writing the poems that made up this collection, there was another catastrophic weather event in my back home. I'm from Massachusetts, in a little town called Shirley, and the closest big town is Leominster. Jerry and I were talking. He knows these towns, I think. So you know, we see rainstorms coming, and we know they pass, right? And this was a storm that did not pass. I often call my mother or my family because often the weather here, a couple of days later, is there. So we talk about the weather back and forth and what's coming. And this was a storm that came and hung there over the town of Leominster, where my sister lives and my cousins live and my aunts live. It hung there and it did not pass and it did not move. These are the kinds of storms we're seeing now. And it rained for days. For days. It stayed there and rained. And it flooded the city that has never been flooded before. And it opened up sinkholes all over the town. It took out the railroad tracks. And this is, you know, right on the commuter rail, you know, into Boston. So a lot of commuters take the commuter rail. The railroad tracks were gone. Everything underneath them had been washed away and the tracks collapsed. It was really quite devastating. And so I started writing, you know, as we do. The sinkhole becomes the metaphor, right? And this collection started with a chapbook called Sinkhole, but this is Sinkhole. And the earth washed away beneath the road, beneath the railroad tracks. The asphalt then collapsed into the hole, and the iron rails spiked, and cars fell into the hole, and houses sometimes, and people's dreams, and people's refusal to acknowledge that what they thought wouldn't be, couldn't be, so was, is, and will be worse and worse and worse. Sky so far from the bottom of a hole, and suddenly so close, there being no further, no deeper for us to fall. Um, I drive the I-90 corridor all the time. I've been driving that I-90. I go up to Cleveland, from here, go up to Cleveland and get on I-90 and go straight east home. It's a 14-hour drive from here, about 12 hours from Cleveland to my mom's home in Shirley. And when my husband gets a little bit annoyed because when I talk about going home, I talk about going to Massachusetts, and he says, "But this is your home." But when I'm there, when I'm in Massachusetts and I'm headed back to Ohio, I say I'm going home. So this is called the liminal space between home and home. Through the years, I've stopped different places. Like I said, 14-hour drive, and I used to stop always in Seneca Falls because the history is great there. But there's so much wonderful history all the way. But I've come around in recent years to always stopping in Rochester because it is the halfway point. The liminal space between home and home. Rochester again, exactly halfway. Untethered from home and home, the man who delights in every detail of me, the mother who recalls less and less of my life, or my siblings' lives, or hers, whose answer to nearly every question these days is, "I don't know, I don't remember," a shrug. I'm never sure if she can't remember or no longer cares about providing the answers. That part of her work is done. Mom might just be out of fucks to give, not that she had many to start with. Lock your doors, save your money. Who are you trying to impress? I scribble my thanks on a pad I find in the desk. Leave $5 for the maid. For what? I hear in my head. Check out of a place few will ever know I was. For the first time in how many years, I missed my turn back onto the thruway, headed neither east nor west, and for a while I just keep going, unburdened, unbeholden, following signs I don't recognize to places I've never been, wondering what my answer might be should somebody ask me later where I've been, what I've done, what on earth I could possibly have been thinking. The I-90 corridor is toll road almost the whole way. The New York Thruway, of course, is toll road, and then it leads right into the Mass Pike, which is toll road. This is a little poem called Toll Road. On the side of the highway, a deer shorn of its legs. A flock of birds rising through rain in perfect unison. We just drive, indifferent to horror and the blur of miracles. The only thing missing, this ends this section. The only thing missing, little baby one again. All is lost, my children, all is love. The only thing missing is peace in our hearts. Let go of what you thought the world was. Reach out to what the world is. Two more, and they're both very short. Terms of venery. So terms of venery are the collective nouns for any group of animals or birds, like a pod of whales. Pod is a term of venery, a pride of lions, even a flock of birds. And then the birds themselves, we have murder of crows, and charm of goldfinches, and so forth. So there's actually 3 poems in here with this title. I'm reading the first. Terms of venery revised for the Anthropocene, an extinction of birds, a ghosting of whales, a haunting of humans, a memory of trees, an echo of monarchs, a sobbing of stars. I'm going to and the only natural place I could, which is with a poem called Apocalypse. Apocalypse. Just as ocean holds her arms open to the melting glacier, just as air so wildly embraces fire that sky might waltz with the smoke, just as hillsides tumble and slide in their haste to kiss the unmoving surface of the valley, and sinkholes rend themselves open to the void, so you in your sublime terror, drowning, burning, giving in to gravity and the vast emptiness of mystical love, see sacred singularity at last. Oneness, wholeness, what the sandy particles of stardust were sent here to grasp. Well, thank you so much. You know, I mentioned my first chapter was from Pudding House, and that was before I came here. I was adopted into this Columbus poetry community, and I learned pretty quickly who the pillars of this community are, and there are several. They include, you know, Jennifer, of course, and Steve Abbott and Scott Woods, Smith, Rose, so many, and Freddie and Julie, and Chenfeld. And the first time I was invited to read here, it was such an honor for me, truly. And every year I've been invited back, it still feels the same honor. So I'm sure you all join me in thanking them for what they do. Brett and I are each going to read one poem, and then before we do, we want to thank Zach again for the library. And we also thank Shirley, I don't want to miss anybody, Jerry, Karen, Ricky, Jacqueline, Jack, Linda, Kathleen, Rose, pretty good group of poets, MJ, and Paula for such wonderful readings, and for you guys who stayed the whole afternoon. God bless you. We need you to share our poems. Otherwise, we just read it to ourselves. And we like our poem. And we thank you so much. Greg, you wanna read a poem? We're each gonna read one poem.
Well, you know, the other day, I messaged God to ask him to do what I wanted to do. I know he skimmed my eager text. I know he thumbed delete. For the thousandth time, I asked him to dispatch a powerful angel bearing a golden ray to heal the earth, bidding her wing from pole to pole, restoring every damaged heart, erasing every anger, every grieving. I've asked for this a million times. Each time God's silence is a no. He won't. That stubborn celestial. I know this is super silly. I know this is not the plan. I know, in fact, what the plan really is. It's you and me, dear sister, brother. We're the healers every day in our thoughts, our words, our prayers, our loves, our actions. We're the ones assigned the task, imperfect bipeds that we are. That's just the way it goes. I don't know why. That's God's desire and request. Repair the world in tiny bits. I know it's true. He messaged me. Let's get on with it, dear friends. We'll work together every day in actions, outlets, large and small. Let's do it, live it, all we can. That's the message we'll send God. I know he will not delete.
By the way, there'll be enough time for you to visit with poets who some of our poets have their books with them, talk to each other, and until the library closes. So Zach will throw us all out. I just have one that I think is relevant based on an old legend. Some of you know this poem. It's called Remember. And I think it's relevant to today's news. Tie a knot in your belt, touch it, and remember who you are and what you believe. When the world goes deaf and blind, and you stumbling behind, when the world and you choke back songs, when the world turns light to dark, and you tremble in starless night, remember who you are and what you believe. When the world turns inside out and poems blur, and your mind shrivels, when the world bars dance and your hands freeze, when the world flings you off like a roller coaster rolling wild, when the world goes mad and you crying fall mad, remember what you believe. Remember who you are. Tie a knot in your belt. Touch it. Remember it. Thank you so much. I'll be welcome. I'll be welcome to have you children. We're looking to have you.